Well, first of all, congratulations on iCleanse. Very exciting. So that is just a couple weeks old of
Yeah,
news.
I mean, we technically closed on the deal mid July, and then we held the announcement through August and into early September to kind of get our ducks in a row and get things squared away. But thanks, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we can start chronologically. So iCleanse is your new venture, I guess I could call it. So can you tell us a little bit about how you took over this company, or what the process was of becoming CEO of it, and where are you at now? I mean, you're pretty new at this, but how's it been so far?
Yeah, so basically in 2012, 13, I was asked to be on the board of directors of ReadyDoc. Sat on the board for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then stepped off. Got busy with the rest of the stuff with iDevices. And then after I sold the company, or sold iDevices in 2017, made an investment into ReadyDoc. They were doing a round of capital raising in 2017. Added some capital, and then the company really never got its foothold and really started to, actually turn into a real business. I'd say it was constantly like in startup mode. So in the midst of a pandemic, if you're running a UVC business that does disinfection of phones, tablets, and has a number of IP patents around it, something's wrong. So, they were running out of capital again and looking to do another round of investment. And I basically sat down with myself, my COO from iDevices, and my CFO from iDevices, and said, hey, I think we should acquire this company. Went out, raised a quick round of about $6 million. Bought the company, put some money in the bank for working capital, and then went about, structuring the deal and taking over essentially in mid-July. Over the last couple of months, hired a few more people, put us in my old offices, actually in Riverdale Farms in Avon, and have started setting up a real business and trying to build it into a legitimate business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, how hard was the decision to leave iDevices? Did your mind spark at the beginning of the pandemic, like, this is an opportunity for me and it's coming at a really opportune time? Or, were you kind of thinking, you're a very entrepreneurial guy. I'll just say that outright. So were you thinking for a while, maybe do something different, looking for something, a little bit more, something different in the technology field?
Yeah, I'm always looking at opportunities. I mean, I own a logistics business out in Newington and have done other ventures and have a few other ventures that I've done on the side while still, working at iDevices. It was hard to leave iDevices. Just the fact that it's my baby. Been there 11 years and built it from nothing to, just under 100 folks and great people, great company within Hubble who has acquired it. And, there's always the question in the back of your mind of leaving a really solid job in the midst of a pandemic and starting something that's a question mark. You definitely, you wouldn't be human if you didn't second guess that for a second. But I think the entrepreneurial spirit takes over, and I'm always a risk taker. I'm always trying to do something new and broaden my horizons. So figured, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? So moving on to iCleanse. So it seems like you have an affinity for names.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're a really big Apple device fan.
I do love Apple. I will give you that. I'm on a Mac. I have iPhones. I've had iPhones forever.
Yeah, you're
And I think we're the largest iPhone or the largest Mac purchaser for the Apple store in the state. So
really.
yeah, iDevices was back in the day. So I definitely like the Apple brand, but this was purely opportunistic from the standpoint of I'm known as the iDevice guy and the iGrill guy. My marketing team that I working with out of Boston, we were looking for names to come, to change ReadyDoc because ReadyDoc didn't tell anything about disinfection. And that was one of the chief things that I said right out of the gate. We have to tell something in our name about what we actually do. And they came through and went through the web search and found that iCleanse was available for purchase. So I He was like, dude, this makes total sense. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to my grave with this on my epitaph of the eye guy, but like, whatever. Let's do it. And
Yeah,
here we
just
are.
trademark it at this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
So I was doing some research about iCleanse, and I was looking at the website, and so there's a couple different devices. I'm going to ask you to describe them. So the main device is ReadyDock, and it looks like, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like a mini microwave,
Yeah.
toast, like kind of a toaster oven. Like I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's really awesome. So there's a few different sizes where you can pull them out. They're little drawers, and you put your devices in there, and it disinfects them. You can also charge them at the same time. So can you talk a little bit about the actual products that iCleanse sells?
Yeah. So we have two products currently. We've changed the product lineup from what was ReadyDock RD5 and ReadyDock Duo to iCleanse Swift. So we have a Swift XL, which is a larger device. It doesn't charge. It's simply place your phone, laptop, any number of different devices. We have salons using them for hair dryers, curling irons, fire departments using them for CB radios and N95 masks. So there's a plethora of things that you can place in that device. It has a taller bay, and it will disinfect within 30 seconds. You can go all the way up to 2 minutes if you really want to knock something out like MRSA or C. diff or something along those lines. So that's the core product. That's probably the most popular product because it has so much versatility. The second product is what we call the Swift 5X. It's a tower. It stores and charges at the same time and is lockable. So, in a hospital setting, you could lock up 5 iPads, 5 phones, tablets, whatever it might be in there, charge them at the same time as with disinfecting them overnight, while the ER is closed or whatever might be happening. It can also do single, use where you just, slide an iPad in there and disinfect it quickly within the same period of time, the 60 to 120 seconds. And then we just are getting ready to launch 2 new products, which will be Swift and Swift Mini. So Swift will be about 2/3 the size of the Swift XL. And then the Mini will be obviously the mini version of that, allowing it to be mounted on a stand chain and rolled around in various applications like nursing homes, hospitals, assisted living, schools, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds awesome. So, who are the primary buyers of these devices or contraptions? That's not the right word. But who's the main buyer for these products?
Yeah, so it's actually changed considerably. From the company was primarily focused on hospitals up until the pandemic hit. What the pandemic has brought about is a number of different opportunities to open up the different markets from schools, universities, colleges. And we're working with, like I said, salons, police, fire. There's really just a number of different places that you can position this product to help protect either the customer, the patient, the employee, and they're being sold super fast. I mean, we're making them in the U.S., which I feel really proud about. They're made up in New Hampshire, so we're creating jobs. We also have some sourcing that's done overseas, but the majority of the manufacturing is done here in the U.S.
That's awesome. So my first question is about these devices, or at least this technology. How is this better or different than simply, putting a wet wipe, just a Clorox wipe, wiping down your phone, or, at hair salons, they have those maybe.
Barbicide.
Yeah, barbicide. Yeah. So why is this technology better?
Yeah, so twofold really. The inability to replicate with a wipe the exact same coverage every time and getting in all the nooks and crannies with a wipe, duration of time it takes to do that properly, and also the fact that that can evaporate too quickly to actually kill the virus or the pathogen that's on the device. Secondarily, UVC light is non-harmful. So in the situations for a number of our police departments that are buying them, body cams being such a big thing right now, you actually void the warranty from a number of manufacturers if you use any type of Lysol disinfectant wipe on the product, because it ruins the lens. It can get into the orifices and then ruin the internal of the product. So they don't have an option other than UVC light. So And then really, doing the majority of the pathogens that people are concerned with today, influenza, COVID, things like that, similar type pathogens in 30 seconds is really as fast, if not faster, than you could do with a wipe.
Yeah, certainly. Because I know just from other episodes that I've done, you need to leave the disinfectant on either the surface or the device for 2 minutes to 10 minutes for to actually, and if you're using a device, who has that time, and you have
Yep.
to wait for it to not be wet anymore. So another question, how gross are our devices?
Oh my
Not
goodness.
It's probably really gross. So why is this particularly important for healthcare workers, at schools, for first responders, even for normal people? What can normal people like us do? We're so used to sanitizing our hands and washing our hands every time we come back from public now. How can we treat our devices in the same way?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's compared a lot of times. It's pretty gross, but to the toilet, I mean, it's as disgusting as a public toilet. And that isn't an exaggeration. I mean, you can do swabs on them and have them tested, and you'll come back with a number of different pathogens. In addition, with the advent of COVID and this entire pandemic that we're going through, people focus on washing their hands. Well, it's great if you wash your hands, but if you then pick up your phone that hasn't been cleaned, you've achieved zero disinfection. I mean, and then on top of it, take your phone, and majority of the time that phone is going to be placed on your face. It's going to be near your mouth, it's going to be near your nose, it's going to be near your eyes and your ears. So virtually all the orifices are being affected by that nasty phone, and you have a much higher transmission rate. um, so when we're looking at schools and things like that, with the proliferation of tablets and Chromebooks and things that are being given out, it's great for remote learning at this point in time, but there will be a day and age when these things come back into the school. And so you have a cross contamination that can occur in both ways, from a household where they may have somebody that becomes infected, and then that person then passes that through the tablet back into the school system and infects the school, and vice versa. The school has some sort of, young kids wiping their nose, touching their pad, and then walking home and infecting a home that then proliferates through the community. So I believe this is going to be the new normal. Unfortunately, I'm not in this business to take advantage of the situation. I do believe that this has heightened the awareness of the need for things like this. Um, Even if we have a vaccine, which I do believe we will have, but if we have 2 doses, you're 2024. There is a great safety that is required to protect first line responders, nurses, doctors, as well as the elderly in particular. One of my good friends owns a number of nursing homes, Athena Healthcare, and super concerning to make sure that A, his employees are safe, B, the patients are safe, and that you still have a way for them to communicate. So they've implemented iPads, for communication outside of the nursing homes, so that they're still able to be connected to family and friends. But they're looking at this device to even disinfect, things like checker pieces or chessboards or things like that, where so that they can actually go back into the community room and, through wearing masks, be able to, play games with each other and have that social interaction. We don't want to live in caves. I mean, that's not the goal.
No, certainly not. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit. So you obviously took over iCleanse in the middle of a pandemic. So just generally, as a business owner, how has it been during this pandemic? Has your business slowed down at all? Have you had any disruptions, or just because you are a really specific in the specific technology industry, the need for technology increased tremendously over the past 6 months. So how's business been since the pandemic?
Bus- I mean, business for this company has been great. Obviously it's increased demand, 1000x in many cases. It's still an expensive product. It isn't made for the consumer. We are selling direct to businesses, so it is a buying cycle that you have to go through. But people are using their CARES funding and things along those lines to acquire these devices. In other businesses that I have, I had the logistics business. We had a portion of time where we had 2 people per truck, and we had to take half that because they couldn't sit in a truck safely, until we figured out how to do that. I was lucky enough to get some of the PPP money, and I was able to keep those people employed. I kind of had them to go out into the community and do volunteer work, and help others that were less fortunate, or buy groceries for elderly or whatever it might be. But I think this is, for me, the learning here is that we're all connected. We really should treat ourselves more of as a community, a true community of people that do the right thing, kind of the golden rule for each other: treat others how you want to be treated. And there's opportunities to really step up and help out where you have the means, and make sure that people are taken care of in this time and day and age. If you're fortunate enough to have a business that's cranking through this, help somebody else out. I'm looking forward to creating more jobs, and really, they may not all be here in Connecticut, in New Hampshire as well, but they're U.S. jobs. And, if I can employ another 100 people or 200 people, that's a win for me.
Yeah, my next question was going to be, what's your outlook for the next year in terms of hiring, business, growth? What is it like?
Yeah. So from an iCleanse standpoint, we will probably be a little over 150 people shortly. We're 9 now. So
Wow,
that's significant
that's
growth.
a lot.
Yeah. So, and then I think our manufacturer, from their standpoint, I can't speak specifically for them, but they're looking to add 40 to 60 folks. So creating a couple hundred jobs, isn't inconsequential. And I've been fortunate enough to sell my business, and I don't need to work anymore. I enjoy working, so I do it. But really creating great jobs and giving people great benefits and opportunities to further themselves and, take care of their families has been probably the most rewarding thing next to my kids in my life.
That's very sweet of you to say. It is. So one last question I had, and I'm sure you've been asked this before. Why Connecticut? So you're sort of like the Silicon Valley, or you're like the Apple of Connecticut. So why stay here? What is great about Connecticut? And I know, you're going to try and grow as many jobs as you can in Connecticut, or at least in the US, which is awesome. But why Connecticut? Why are you staying here? Why are you keeping your businesses here? Why do you keep investing here?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was born and raised here, 43 years, never left. Went to college for 3 months and dropped out. So that's the extent of my living elsewhere. So, I've been able to build numerous successful companies here. We have really talented folks, and we undermine that dramatically through our poor press, our poor, even self-confidence in our own community. Everybody likes to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not sure if it's because the media buys into it more of like, woe are we when we lose a bunch of executives from GE. Who gives a crap? Honest to God, those people didn't shop in our stores. They weren't here on the weekends. They they have houses in 5 other states and bebop across the country and are very rarely here. I like investing in jobs that are, $100,000 jobs, $150,000 jobs, $75,000 jobs, where you can provide a great quality of life, have a great community that we have in a number of the towns here. And so many towns are flourishing right now. I mean, you're seeing the revitalization of Connecticut because everybody's fleeing New York and Boston trying to get
I
the hell
know.
out of Dodge.
I know. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, like how do we talk about that positivity about the state and all? Like I know the great things that are going on because I talk to business owners every single week about the amazing things that they're doing. You're doing your work and investing in the state. So how do we keep getting that message across?
honestly, you just got to get rid of a lot of the curmudgeons. I mean, the people are so focused on their own self defamation in some cases, to be honest. Like, look, you make a great deal of money, you pay taxes, so be it. I was brought up in a public school system. I've benefited from that public school system. I was brought up in a town where I had opportunities afforded to me, and it was because of the taxes that were paid by my parents. God rest their soul. My father died when I was 5. He was an educator. My mother died when I was 26, and she was an educator. They didn't make tons of money, but they paid their dues, and we made our way in the world off of that. Paying taxes is part of doing your part to help somebody who's less fortunate. We can disagree on the way the money is spent. We can disagree on where we place those funds, But the reality is it is helping other people. It's paying for teachers, it's paying for police, it's paying for fire, it's paying for trash pickup. And those are services that are vital to making great communities and helping keep communities, vibrant and, upbeat. And
So, but I think just being in this younger generation as well, just looking to the future of Connecticut, it's where to put the money in the smartest way. Like, where are our priorities? Because that's what you do in a business, or in any kind of work that you do. What needs fixing right now, and how do we prioritize it to make sure that everyone's needs are met. Obviously it gets way more complicated than that, but really just understanding what is most important in our state. And we know what those things are. We've had conversations, you and I, offline, off the podcast about that. Infrastructure and, affordability is a huge one, especially for young people. So I think it's just coming to an agreement. We agree we agree on much more than we disagree on. Would you
Yeah, I mean,
agree with that?
it's not political or party lines. It's a matter of what's for the greater good, right? If everybody stopped looking at their own individual pocket and worrying about how much was in their pocket and how much they were giving to other folks. Look, it's maybe think that it's easy to say, but I was an advocate from the beginning days when I was really broke, living in an apartment when I started iDevices, going through a divorce, and I had nothing. I literally was in a little tiny 2-bedroom apartment with 2 kids that I took. And I made sure I had 401k for my very first employee, health insurance. I didn't even take a salary. I didn't take a salary for upwards of 4 or 5 years out of that company. And when you focus on really developing your people and developing the people around you, you get really loyal folks. You get really well-developed folks, because they invest in themselves and they take the time to really learn your business and invest in it, and they become part of a family. And if more businesses did that, not just here but everywhere, I think we'd have a much better business environment. And I think you're seeing some of it with people working remote right now, because they're getting that work-life balance, and they're seeing that corporations do actually care about you by allowing you to stay home and work from home. They're saying, hey, we care about your health and well-being, and we want you to be safe. And I think that's been something that's lost in corporate America by and large up until now.
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic, as awful as the past 6 months have been, and how much it's changed about our lives and how business is done, it's brought to light what's important to us and what actually matters and what we actually value. And that's one of the things that's come out of this is just, important conversations, work-life balance, and just, what's most important to us.
You get one go around on the merry-go-round of life. That's what I always say, right? My father died super young when I was, like you said, when I was 5. He died of ALS. Never saw it coming. Just, it happened, and he passed away at 56.
Yeah.
My mom passed away of cancer. I value every day, and I enjoy every day of life, because you only get one go around. And, some of this has come to light for people through this pandemic. It's been the way I live my life every day. I don't worry about every little nitpicking thing, or, having gazillion dollars in my bank account when I retire, because you worry about that, you probably give yourself a heart attack before you get there, and you're not able to enjoy it.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Well, Chris, thank you so much for sitting down with me for a couple minutes today. This has brightened up my day, just with your attitude and just all the success that you've had. Again, congratulations on iCleanse, and I know we'll be talking soon, maybe on another podcast, but definitely in person. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.